Students, I hope you are all fine and must be enjoying with your life. Students, today we will discuss another important topics. Now let's discuss about the importance of human resource strategy, and especially in the operations management scenario. The objective of the human resource strategy is to manage the labor and design jobs so people are effectively and efficiently utilized. So again, students, the most important objective of human resource strategy in any organization is the better and I would say optimum utilization of their resources, and these resources should be utilized in a way that the organizational predetermined objectives may be better achieved. And other than that, efficient and effective utilization, it is also important to design the job in a manner that will help the employees to be more motivated and to better achieve their organizational targets. So these are very important points which can create the commitment and trust in your working environment, so that an environment may be created in the organization in order to better achieve the organizational objectives. One of the very important factors which the operations manager should give the due importance in human resource strategy, that is the labor planning, that how much labor should be applied, or what should be the level of employment in your organization, so that your organizational jobs may be better done by the different available human resources. So they can be the different employment stability policies, and one of the approach in that particular perspective is follow demand exactly. Now it means that you have to have the employment level within the organization which can optimally meet the current demand for that particular organization. Now this particular approach matches the direct labor cost to the production, but this particular approach will incur the cost in hiring, termination, unemployment insurance and premium wages. It means that whenever you don't have the demand, you may have to terminate and unemploy your employees. You may have given the premium wages or the unemployment insurance to those employees. So in that particular perspective, by using this particular approach, you may incur the hiring, termination and unemployment expenses. Hiring expenses, again, in the perspective that if your organization have more demand, then again you'll have to hire the employees in order to meet that particular demand, and again there may be the more hiring cost. So in this particular approach, labor is treated as the variable cost because your employment level will vary with respect to the particular demand in the organization. The other approach is the hold employment constant. Now in this particular approach, what we do, we will hold the employment constantly, and it is not being depending on the level of demand in the organization. This approach maintains the trained workforce. So in this particular perspective, it may minimize hiring, termination and unemployment costs, because now you are maintaining the human resource permanently or constantly in your organization. But there may be the disadvantage in this particular approach as well, that there may be the chances of there may be the chances of underutilization of the different human resources, because there may be the time when there is no more demand in the organization. So for that time period, again, your organization employees may not be fully utilized. So this is one of the drawback of this particular approach. And in this particular approach, students, labor is treated as a fixed cost, because again the cost of the employment is not being depending on the level of demand in the organization. Now the students, today, in order to achieve the different organizational objectives, the organization can apply the different work schedules. एंड स्पेशली अगर आप डिफरेंट अच्छी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और मल्टीनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के एनवायरनमेंट्स को देखें तो पहले ये स्टाइल होता था कि आपने सुबह 9 बजे जाना है और शाम को 4 बजे तक आपका जो है ऑफिस टाइमिंग है. बट नाउ द मोस्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आर अप्लाइंग द डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ स्ट्रेटजीज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दैट वर्क स्केड्यूल्स. And now that perception is now being changed, that you'll have to work 5 days a week and you'll have to work 8 hours a day. Now they are offering more flexible schedules for their employees, and they always allow the employees within, of course, the particular limits to determine their own schedules. Now, for example, if you are required to work for 8 hours a day, it may be opted for the different employees that whether you want to come in the morning at 8 o'clock or you may come at the afternoon at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, or you may also have the option to work in the night shift. So these sort of work schedules may also be provided to the employees, and again the purpose is the employees may have the different options, and according to your own adjustments and requirements, the different employees can choose their best option. So one of the purpose of this particular approach is again to give the more autonomy to the employees, and it will also be a source of motivation for the employees, and of course that will ultimately help the organization in order to achieve their objectives efficiently and effectively. Then again, different organizations offer the flexible work weeks, and for example they can work for 2 weeks and then they can have the leave for 1 week. Again, the different part-time options may also be given to the different employees. And students, now there is also a trend that sometimes and in certain situations your physical presence may also not be required by the organizations, and some of the multinational organizations are also using this particular concept, and they can always take work from the employees on the internet if the work nature is sort of like this. And again, that tradition of physical presence at your company place may not be required sometimes by most of the organizations. So these are the flexible schedules which are now being provided by the different organizations to their employees. And again, the factor is to motivate the employees and to give the more autonomy to the employees so that they can better work for their organizations. Then students, job classification and work rules should also be well defined for their employees. That is, it should be clear that who can do what and when they can do it. They should also specify under what conditions they can do it. So the different schedules of working and the way they want to do the work or they have to do the work should be clearly stated to the employees. In different organizations, there can be the union contracts after the proper negotiation between the employees and the top management. And again, the purpose is to achieve the organizational objectives efficiently and effectively. Then students, there are the different design options in the organizational environment, which means that the operations managers should specify the different tasks that constitute a job for an individual or a group. Now we can again use the different approaches like job specialization. Now job specialization means that a special job is being assigned to a person who actually have the expertise in that particular job. So he is more synthetic and most importantly analytical skills in order to perform that particular job, and he is actually the specialist in that particular job. So that is the concept of job specialization. Similarly, the organization can apply the job expansion and they can increase the responsibility horizontally or vertically for a particular job, for a particular human resource or the worker. There can be the psychological components, like you can always provide the safety environment and better working conditions for your employees. So again, these are the important factors which can motivate the employees towards their working. Then always the organizations are interested in developing the good and self-directed teams, so that they can have an environment of synergy within the organization, and their aggregate output of something may be achieved. And again, they should apply the different policies and the rules in order to motivate the employees and in order to provide the better incentive systems for their employers. Then students, again, the job specialization, again I told you, is the job which may be assigned to a particular person who is specialized in performing that particular job. And it is also referred sometimes as the division of labor concept. And in this particular concept, we divide the different tasks among the different employees according to their own specialties in their particular job context. Then again, job expansion means adding more variety to the jobs. And the purpose of this job expansion approach is to reduce the boredom associated with the labor specialization. And now there may be the chances of boredom in specialization when someone is going to do a particular job again and again. No doubt he is a specialist in performing that particular job, but it is again the nature of the human being that if you do a particular job for a particular time period, then again you start boring with that particular job. So in order to reduce that boredom, you can always apply the different strategies like job enlargement. Now job enlargement is actually the horizontal expansion of a particular job responsibilities and authorities. That is, still you are doing the similar job, but your boss or your organization or the operations manager has expanded the responsibilities again horizontally. Job rotation is another important concept which may be used by the operations manager, and that is the periodic shifting of the different employees from one job to another. Again, that may help to reduce that boredom effect. Job enrichment again is related to job enlargement, but there is a difference. What is the difference? That job enrichment means the vertical expansion of the job responsibilities. In that particular concept, you are assigned the higher responsibilities for the same job you are actually doing. So this job enrichment is actually the vertical expansion of a particular job, and job enlargement is the horizontal expansion of a particular job. Similarly, the operations manager or the organization should apply the different approaches which can help the employees to have the more autonomy, and they may be given the more decision-making authority in different situations. So this employee empowerment concept is again very important to motivate the employees. Now students, again, as we have discussed, that job enlargement is the horizontal expansion of the job, and job enrichment is the vertical expansion of the job, as you can see in this particular figure. Then students, there are some psychological components which the operations managers should consider while designing a particular job. Now what are these components? These may be related to the work environments, that what safety environment you are providing to your workers, and what are the working conditions in which they are doing work in the organizational setting. So these conditions are so important to have a psychological impact on the workers, and if you are properly managing all of these psychological factors, it will ultimately help to increase the motivation level of your employees, and sometimes he will start enjoying their work in that idealized environment. And of course, the ultimate impact will be on the profitability of the organization. There are some job characteristics which can always be again helpful to make a particular job more attractive. These characteristics are skill variety, job identity, job significance, autonomy, feedback. Okay students, let me discuss and differentiate these very important characteristics of a job. Skill variety means that how much variety is being required to perform a particular job. whether it can be performed by only a single skill or the different skills may also be applied in performing a particular job. Now students, अगर आप कभी मोटर मैकेनिक को देखें कि वो अगर सुबह से शाम तक काम कर रहा होगा तो उसके पास जो है डिफरेंट किस्म के कस्टमर्स आएंगे और वो हर किस्म के डिफरेंट काम कर रहा होगा. It means there is a more variety in its job, and there will be the less chances of boredom in performing that particular job in which there is more variety and more skills are being used by the worker. इसके opposite अगर कभी पेंटर को देखें कि वो उसने बस ब्रश पकड़ना है और वो पेंट करना स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. Now इस particular job में there may not be the much variety, so there may be the more chances to be bored by this particular job. So again, the operations manager should always be interested to have more skill variety in a particular job so that there will be less chances of boredom in that particular job. Then again, job identity means that how much identifiable a job is. If a job is not identifiable for a particular person especially, then it may not give the a certain motivation level to that person. Then it may not give the certain motivation level to the worker. Again students, अगर आप कभी सिंगर को देखें कि समटाइम्स ऐसा होता है कि सिंगर का जो सॉन्ग है वो बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हो जाता है, लेकिन उसका बेनिफिट किसको होता है? उस सिंगर को होता है. लेकिन उसके बैकग्राउंड में जो म्यूजिशियन है या उसके बैकग्राउंड में जिसने पोइट्री लिखी हुई है उसकी जॉब इतनी आइडेंटिफाइबल नहीं होती. सो इम्पोर्टेंस इज दैट जॉब आइडेंटिटी, that if the operations manager is able to have the feeling for the different workers that his job is as identifiable as some other good workers, their motivation level will always be increased. Then job significance, that how much important is your job. Now again, if you consider an hospital environment, the doctor's job has more significance than the job of sweeper in a hospital again. But if you want to have the good working environment, again you'll have to have the feeling in the environment that whether it's the doctor or the nurses or the sweepers who are responsible for the cleanliness, which may be more important for the patients, so these jobs are as important as some other jobs. So this sort of feeling should be created by the operations manager in the environmental setting so that their motivational level may not be lowered. The next important characteristics is autonomy. Autonomy means you should give the more freedom to the employees in order to find out the way in performing a particular job. So if you are giving more freedom, more independence and more autonomy to the employee, again of course within the particular limits, if some worker is being able to use that autonomy, that he may decide about the way he should do a particular work, then again his motivational level will be increased. Then feedback, again a good feedback as well as a negative feedback is again important in order to motivate the employees, and again good feedback will help him to further improve his performance in future. And the negative feedback is as important for the workers so that they can improve their working in future, and they may not have done the similar mistakes which may have been done by them in past. Now again students, in an idealized working environment, these are sort of self-directed teams who are going to perform the different works, and finally they are being able to achieve the different organizational goals. So what is the purpose and what is the benefit of this working environment, and especially the team environment, is that you will always be able to have this sort of synergy, and of course the aggregate impact of the benefits will always be more when you are doing the team working. So the group of empowered individuals working together to reach a common goal is so important in the working environment of the organizations. It may be organized for the long-term or the short-term objectives, so you can always make the different teams for the achievement of the short-term objectives or the long-term objectives. It is so effective for the organizations because it provides the employee empowerment, and it ensures the core job characteristics, and it meets the individual psychological needs. So most importantly, you should be able to define the team working and team job so that it should have the different characteristics of job we just have talked about. Then again, it will help down to meet the psychological needs of the different individuals, and again, most importantly, it will create a sort of synergetic environment in the organization, and your organizational objectives may be better achieved within this self-directed team environment. So this self-directed team environment actually helps us to maximize the effectiveness, and the managers should ensure those who have legitimate contributions are on the team. So it is very important that how you are selecting the team members in order to perform, or in order to, so it is very important to make a team and select the different members of the team so that the relevant contributions of the different team members may be well achieved. It provides the management support, then it ensures the necessary training, and after the necessary training and support from the top management, as well as if you provide the proper financial and non-financial rewards to these team members, then these sort of factors will always be helpful in achieving the different objectives. And again, self-directed teams means that you should give the due empowerment to the team members, and the supervisory level should always be less, and we should always be letting the different employees, and especially the team members, so that they can define their own way of doing the job, and they should define the way that how they can achieve the predetermined objectives of the organization. So this is the concept of self-directed teams. So students, we have just discussed about the benefits of team environment, and the benefits of expanded job design, that is job enrichment, enlargement, job rotation concepts. So these concepts actually helps us to improve the quality of work life, that is the working environment. Then improved job satisfaction will be there. It will have the increased motivation, and ultimately it will affect the organization's profitability. It allows the employees to accept more responsibility, and it improves the productivity and the quality environment within the organization, and then it will ultimately help to have the reduced turnover and absenteeism within the organization. Students, there should always be good incentive system to be prevailed in the organization in order to again motivate the employees. The organization can always offer the bonuses in the form of cash, stock options. The company may also offer the different shares of their company to their own employees. They can have the profit sharing system in which the profit earned by the organization may be shared among the different employees with respect to the better performance. Then gain sharing. Gain sharing means that you may decide about the rewards to be given to the employees according to the level of productivity achieved. So if you are going to achieve a certain production level or productivity level, you can accordingly distribute the different rewards among the different employees, so they will be more motivated in future. Then there can be the different plans like production rates plans, that is per unit production reward. If you are increasing more and more, then your reward will also be increased with respect to that production of the different units produced. Then there should always be the knowledge-based system to be prevailed in the organization, and the different compensation and incentives should be decided based on the performance of the employees, and most importantly the knowledge and the different skills the different employees have. So important is the knowledge based systems, and of course it will again help the different employees to work more in future, and in the same way they can contribute towards the organizational objectives. So this good incentive system is always helpful for the organizations to have a sort of motivational environment within the organization. Then students, there are some ethical concepts which should always be examined by the operations manager. There should be the working environment which is fair environment and the equity environment, and they should always be able to have the idea before the employees that what is considered good and what is considered bad within the organization, and the different employees should be rewarded according to their own performance and not according to the relationships with the top management. So there should be a system of fairness, equity and ethics within the organizational environment. Then again, equal opportunities may be provided to the different employees, and safe working conditions should always be provided. And again, this is the ethical requirement on the part of the top management and the organization, that they should always provide this equity and safe environment for their employees. Students, this sort of environment is helpful to work with government agencies, trade unions, insurers and employees. So for all of these stakeholders, the ethical environment is so important. So if the organization is being able to have this sort of ethical environment, they can always have good working conditions with the different stakeholders like government agencies, trade unions, insurers, employees, which are the most important stakeholders for any organization. So students, this is the end of our today's lecture. Today we discussed about the importance of globalized operations management. Then we discussed about the importance of human resources, the different human resource strategies, different incentive strategies. Then most important, the different characteristics of jobs and how we can design a particular job in order to better motivate the employees. So students, meet you next week and wish you good luck. Khuda Hafiz.